Yes, we've started the screen recording. Hey everybody, we're live and in stereo. Sir, clean shave when? Inshallah, tomorrow I will be clean shaved. Yes. So today we're going to do the 2016 set. It has already been shared with you guys in the discussion forum. You guys could check it out. And it's also going to be found in the description of any of the recent YouTube videos. So you could go on to my channel. It's by the name Carboxyl. Carboxyl, and you guys can check out the description of any of the recent video. It'll have a drive link. The password is also given. It's 1234, and you guys can absolutely download it from there. The 2018 set has also been uploaded there, and the 2019 set has also been uploaded there, and this is the 2016 set. The reason why I'm doing the 2016 set is because a lot of students were sending questions from the 2016 papers in the discussion forum, in which they were getting confused. So that's why I thought that I'll just go over the 2016 set today, hopefully. And after I'm done with this class, a lot of students who have had confusions with these questions, they can then resolve it after this, right? So we're gonna go over this, and we'll also go over the 2020 set, hopefully, if I have the time and if I can manage my sleep schedule as well, because I've been on 2 hours sleep, on 1 hour sleep. I've also uploaded the 2019 set. I recorded it for you guys because it's one of the most important set to do. 2016 and 2019, one of the most important sets to do. So I uploaded the 2019 set as well because I was, I was caught up in a lot of work, because us chartered accountants, especially when you work in the big four accounting firms in the world, one of the big four, and then the top out of the big four, you work in the top firm in the world for auditing and assurance. So it takes a toll on your body. Sir, I can't study properly as I feel burnt out. Ariba, please log out of this class, go watch a Netflix show and watch the recording later on. Please. Yes, I'm at PwC. Yes. Sir, casually flexing. I'm not flexing. I'm just saying you guys can't expect me to be there every single day. I'm trying my level best. Recordings are all going to be posted on Carboxyl. Sir Lamau, it is a flex though. Okay, Maheen, hey, I can't even flex a little bit. Come on. I worked hard for this position. Yeah. So come on. Said Moo Miami too. Okay, okay, chill. I never said, I'm just stating facts here. Okay, so let's start off with the questions, and these questions are for O level as well as IGCSE. All these questions are taken out from the respective examiner report. So the examiners, as per the examiner comments, these were the most difficult questions that students got wrong. Yeah. Chale ji, let's start. Question number one says the graph gives the melting points MP of mixtures of lead and tin. Now, this is a very confusing graph to look at, even, but you guys can break it down for yourself. What's happening is on the y-axis, you're just given melting points, right? Melting points on the y-axis, and he's given you the melting point of pure tin on the right side and the melting point of pure lead on the left side, right? But the y-axis both show you melting points, or sorry, the melting points from 100, from actually this point all the way to 400, from this point all the way to 400. It's just mirror images for you. Now he's giving you the melting point of lead, and the x-axis is the percentage of tin in the mixture, right? So at 0% tin in the mixture, what do you have? At 0%, what do you have? What do you have at 0%? If there's 0% tin in the mixture, you basically only would have lead, right? 100% would be lead. And on the right side, if you have 100% tin in the mixture, then you would only have, then you would have 0% lead in it, right? So this, if I'm saying you have 100% lead or 0% lead and 100% tin, that just means that they're not, it's not a mixture, right? If you have 0% tin, that means that all of it is lead. So it's not a mixture. So you'll have to work your way across this horizontal x-axis, right? And it's very easy to even visualize this. Check out what's happening. As you increase the percentage of tin, the melting point, has certain values. So if I have, let's suppose, 10% tin, obviously the other 90% would be lead. If I have 20% tin, obviously the other 80% is going to be lead. If I have 50% tin, obviously the other 50% is going to be lead. If I have 60% tin, obviously the other 40% is going to be lead. So he's giving you just a mixture. He's just giving you a mixture on the x-axis, the composition of the mixture on the x-axis. Done. We have this clear now. Now it says the graph shows that any mixture of lead and tin must have a melting point. That is, any mixture. So he's talking about any mixture. If you have whatever percentage of lead or tin you have on the x-axis, which you can see from the x-axis, if I have 50% tin, I'll have 50% of lead. If I have 60% of tin, I'll have 40% of lead, right? So any mixture that you have, what will hold true for that? Which of these statements will hold true for any mixture? It says that if you have any mixture of lead and tin, the melting point is going to be above that of tin. Is this true or is this false? This is absolutely false, because you're saying, if let's suppose I say you have 60% of tin and the other 40% is obviously going to be lead. What is the melting point? You could check it out. The melting point is below that of pure tin. Pure tin's melting point is right here. But if I vary the percentage, if I have 60% tin and 40% lead, the melting point is going to be below that of tin. So it's saying the melting point will always be above that of tin. That's not true. That's not true, because you can literally see this side right here. All of this side has a melting point below that of tin. So it's not always above that of tin. So we can cut out A. It's saying it should be always below that of lead. Yes, it's always below that of lead, because you see lead is at the top, and whatever percentage mixture you have, whatever mixture, whatever composition you have, the melting point will always be below that of lead. So if I have 10% tin and 90% lead, the melting point is below this. The melting point is below this. You just have to compare all the melting points to this one dot, which is the melting point of pure lead. All the melting points of this mixture are below that. Oh, what happened? Light went. Right. Let's put up this. I have to buy a battery for my solar. Yeah. So all the melting points are below that of lead, and that's absolutely true. So B is the correct option. That's how easy it was. To be very honest, it was a very easy question. So sometimes some students, what is this? Is it always going to be below that of lead and tin? Is it always below that of lead and tin? Somebody thinks that can't it be C? No, it's not always below that of lead and tin, because it's possible. If I draw a line here, and if I draw a line here, what if Khizr, you have a percentage, let's suppose you have a percentage 20%. Let's suppose, I've just assumed this is 20. If you have 20% of mixture, is this melting point? The melting point will be this, right? I corresponded to the y-axis. So this is about 210, let's suppose. So is this below that of tin as well as lead? It is below lead, but it's not below tin. It's above lead. It's above tin, right? So it is below lead, but above tin. So it can't always be below that of both lead and tin. So C is also wrong. It can fall in this region as well. And if it says it is between that of lead and tin, so that's not always true. It can be below that of lead and tin as well. So you'll realize that D is also wrong. You just have to easily go over these the x-axis, just identifying things. So B is the correct option. Okay, moving on. In an experiment, 1 cm cube of gaseous hydrocarbon. What's a hydrocarbon? A hydrocarbon is basically a compound with carbons and hydrogens only. It only has carbon atoms and hydrogen atoms. And it says a 1 cm cube of gaseous hydrocarbon requires 4 cm cube of oxygen to completely combust to give you 3 cm cube of carbon dioxide. What formula represents Z? Now you realize that for gases, whenever you have gases, it's gas, gas, gas. The volume also represents the moles of the gas. If you don't know that, watch my moles and stoichiometry video. कितने साल के past papers करने हैं? Guys, I'm doing 2016 set. It's the most difficult MCQs out of 2016 that the examiner has specified. It's 2016. Okay? All variants. Okay. So if I'm saying here, I have CXHY, and he's saying when it reacts with 4 cm cube of oxygen, that means it means it's reacting with 4 moles of oxygen, because for gases, volume and moles literally are the same. So 4 cm cube of oxygen, I could say it's 4 moles of oxygen, and it gives you 3 cm cube of carbon dioxide, aka 3 moles of carbon dioxide. And obviously if it's undergoing complete combustion, it's also going to give you H2O. So if it's giving me 3 moles of carbon dioxide, it has 3 carbons, right? So this gaseous hydrocarbon should have 3 carbons. So it has 3 carbons. Now I also need to find out the amount of the number of hydrogen atoms. You could literally balance it out. You have 8 oxygens on the left, you have 6 oxygens here. 6 O's are with carbon right now. So you have 8 oxygens on the left, 6 O's are present already here. How many more O's should H2O have? How many O's should H2O have? You need a total of 8. So if you have 8 oxygens on the left, you have 6 on the right already. I just need 2 more. So what should oxygen is 1 here, right? So what should I multiply 1 with to get 2? X is equal to 2, obviously. So I'm going to insert a 2 here. Now the oxygens are balanced. And by balancing water, you figure out that, hey, it has 4 hydrogen atoms. This hydrocarbon should have 2 times 2. 4 hydrogen atoms should be present here. So it's C3H4. And is this compound possible? Absolutely. It's not in your course, but these compounds are basically, they belong to the Ethene family. You know, it's propadiene. Nobody cares. It looks something like this. You want to care? You know, if you care, I'll show it to you. It's something like this. It's propadiene. But nobody cares, you know. Nobody should care. 1 cm cube means 1 mole of gas. Yes, Khidr. For gases, 1 cm cube, yeah, 1 dm cube literally means 1 mole. And I've proven that. You can check the moles stoichiometry class out. Okay. Okay. The diagram shows the apparatus used to extract aluminum oxide. Great. It says which statement about this process is correct? The electrolyte is a solid mixture of aluminum oxide and cryolite. It is a mixture of aluminum oxide and cryolite, but not solid. Why not solid? Why not solid? Because solid aluminum oxide can literally not conduct. There are no mobile ions to be used as electrolytes. So it should be molten, not solid, sir. A is wrong. The electrolyte is aluminum oxide dissolved in water. It is aluminum oxide, but not dissolved in water. It's actually molten. If it was dissolved in water, then hydrogen would discharge at the negative cathode. Yeah. So B is wrong. And the equation for the reaction shows at the positive electrode is aluminum 3 plus green. Yes, this is the reaction taking place, but not at the positive electrode because positive attracts negative, right? This is positive. So if you have the aluminum 3 plus ion, they'll be attracted to the anode. Sorry, not the anode, sorry, the cathode. The anode is the positive electrode, right? So they'll be attracted to the negative cathode, not to the positive anode. Please panic. Positive is anode, negative is cathode. So it won't be attracted to the positive. The positive carbon electrodes, aka the anodes, they will lose mass during the process and need regular replacement. Absolutely correct. Why? Why does it need regular? Because you realize that the O2 minus ions, they're going to give you oxygen by losing 4 electrons in total. Each oxide ion loses 2 electrons, so in total 4 electrons are lost. And this oxygen comes into contact with the graphite electrodes to give you carbon dioxide. That's why you need to replace the anode regularly. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Acha. A student has 5 reagents: hydrochloric acid, I'll call this 1, dilute sulfuric acid, that's 2, dilute nitric acid, 3. He has 3 acids, you know, I have 3 acids. Great stuff. And I have solid calcium carbonate and I have copper carbonate. So I have 2 bases, you know, they are bases. Done, sir. Now, he says how many soluble salts can be prepared? It's a pretty easy question. It's so easy that you guys are going to be like, oh my God, why did students get this wrong? But the examiner has said many students got this wrong. Now, how do you go about this MCQ? Well, you'll realize how is a salt made? First of all, tell me how is a salt made, everybody? How? Let's forget about soluble. How is a salt made? How do you make salts? You must have a positive ion and you must have a negative ion. Isn't that true? And what's going to happen is that's how salts are made, through positive and negative ions, right? Now, what's going to happen is hydrochloric acid has the chloride ion, sulfuric acid has the sulfate ion, nitric acid has the nitrate ion, and calcium carbonate, I want to look at the positive ion, right? So I'm going to look at the calcium 2 plus ion, and I'm going to look at the copper 2 plus ion. This is what is effectively going to form. The calcium ion will form a salt with chloride ion, so calcium chloride, calcium sulfate, calcium nitrate, copper chloride, copper sulfate, copper nitrate. So should I write it here? I'm not going to write all the equations for you. I'll just write, hey, calcium chloride will form, calcium sulfate will form, calcium nitrate will form. That's the first bit. And then with copper, copper chloride forms, copper sulfate forms, and copper nitrate forms. Ain't that true? Ain't that true? Yes, done, sir. Copper 2 plus. I'm assuming it's copper 2. Yeah, it is copper 2. It's written. Okay, great. Now let's look at soluble. Which of these is soluble? Calcium chloride, soluble. Calcium nitrate, soluble. Copper chloride, soluble. Because you know the solubility for chlorides. What's the solubility for chlorides? All chlorides are soluble except for lead, mercury, and silver, right? And for sulfates, you know that all sulfates are soluble except for LMS Castrobar. Remember, this bit is calcium strontium is not a part of your course now, but in 2016 it was. Oh, light came. So in 2016, it was a part of your course. You'll realize lead, mercury, silver. Can you see lead, mercury, silver chloride? No, you can't. So this is what, and all nitrates are soluble. So that's also soluble. Now, calcium sulfate and copper sulfate. Which of these is insoluble? Lead sulfate, insoluble, mercury sulfate, silver sulfate. Calcium sulfate is also insoluble, and I will cross this because it's insoluble. So the only soluble sulfate, the only soluble source that you get is calcium chloride, calcium nitrate, copper chloride, copper sulfate, and copper nitrate. Done, sir. So 5. But remember, you don't need to know that calcium sulfate is soluble for now. It's not going to come in your paper. Don't worry about it. It's not. But it's a good MCQ. Or 2016 MCQs are really, really nicely made. They're really, really well structured. Very, very testing. Okay. Aqueous copper 2 sulfate solution, okay, is placed in an iron container. Now you should know the reaction. Iron is a more reactive metal. So a more reactive metal is going to displace the less reactive metal from its salt solution. So a displacement reaction takes place, iron sulfate is going to form and copper solid is going to form. Ain't that true? It is true. And copper 2 plus ions are basically blue. And if it's iron 2 plus ions, iron 2 plus ions are green. So let's talk about this. It says which describes what happens. Well, we know a displacement reaction happens. Okay. Now, atmospheric oxygen reacts with copper sulfate to give copper oxide. What? That's not what happens, because atmospheric oxygen reacts with copper to give you copper oxide, not with copper sulfate. So A is wrong. It says some fine iron particles are formed in the solution. What? No, that's absolutely wrong. Why? Because iron particles are not being formed. The iron container is literally reacting with copper sulfate to give you iron 2 plus ions. So iron particles talk about solid particles. Solid iron particles are actually being used up. They're not being formed. So B is wrong. The part of container in contact with solution is going to be coated with copper. That's absolutely true, because once this container starts to react with copper sulfate, the copper solid is going to start to form on top of it. The copper solid will form right here. So it will definitely be coated with copper. So C is right. D says the solution goes from green to blue. No, it goes from blue to green if it's the iron 2 plus ion. D is wrong. That's how you should practice, to be honest. Sir, your brain is like a mega mind. We can't think this fast. You are so genius. No, no. Oh, nahi, oh, nahi. You have to think like this. You have to. I'm sorry, but you do. you know. How do you know that iron sulfate is green? Because if it's the iron 2 plus ion, you've studied this in your salts. You know that iron 2 plus is green if it's the iron 2 plus ion. If it was iron 3 plus, then it should have been red-brown. Okay, makes sense. Copper 2 plus ions are blue. You should know this. Copper 2 plus, have you not studied did you not study for your ATP? Didn't you have the sheet at the end for your ATP? It can come in your paper. How to see which shows colored by equation? What do you mean by equation? Copper sulfate. Copper sulfate is the copper 2 plus ions bonded to the sulfate ions. So copper 2 plus means blue. Iron sulfate, they are actually ions, the iron 2 plus ion. If it was, the iron 2 plus, it should have gone from blue to green. But if it was the iron 3 plus, it should have been blue to red brown. Okay. Which substance will ethene react with to form more than one product? Now remember, ethene is an alkene, and alkenes normally they undergo what? They undergo addition reactions. And what are addition reactions, everybody? What are addition reactions? Addition reactions are those reactions in which only one product forms. And he's saying you want more than one product. You want more than one product. So first of all, I'll eliminate hydrogen and I'll eliminate steam, because ethene will react with hydrogen to give you ethane, which is an alkane. That's again an addition reaction. It will react with steam to give you what? Ethanol. Again, an addition reaction. Only one product forms. So B, C, right off the bat are wrong. And A is wrong. Why? Because argon is a noble gas and won't react with it. So it's oxygen. And why is it oxygen? Because ethene reacts with oxygen to in fact give you more than one product, which is carbon dioxide and H2O if it's complete combustion. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's so easy, to be very honest. It's very easy. You just need to put your brain. Just key concepts. So, those of you who have good concepts can, can easily secure full marks in the MCQ paper. Easily. Stop rote learning MCQ. Stop. Please stop. Try to learn conceptual and try to learn things conceptually. Yeah. Sir, I swear I will make you so famous. I have already been recommending you to all my juniors, and they will join your session from 1st July for O level. Oh, thank you, thank you. Means a lot, kiddo. Thanks. खुश रहो. Here, when calcium carbonate is added to dilute hydrochloric acid, carbon dioxide gas is released. Three sets of apparatus are shown. So CO2 is being released, right? CO2. Great. He's saying three apparatus are shown. Okay, I'll look into them in a while. It says which sets of apparatus are suitable together with stopwatch to find the rate of reaction. So for rate, you need what? Remember, whenever you want to calculate rate of reaction, sir, ye dar hai ki juniors will end up snitching to their school that I am recommending them academies and other teachers will then. Okay, fine, it's fine, it's fine. Ibrahim, chill out. I haven't asked anybody to do that. Okay, fine, chill, chill, chill. Astaghfirullah, Rabbi. Okay. Okay, so when you calculate what is rate, everybody? What is rate? Rate, oh my God. Please tell me what rate is anybody. Rate is any change with respect to time, right? And rate of reaction is the change in amount of reactant. So if you are able to calculate or to, figure out the change with respect to time, you can plot a graph and calculate the rate. Please remember, whenever you're able to calculate the change, either in amount of reactants or in the amount of products, the conc of reactants or the concentration of products, with respect to time, you can calculate the rate for anything, and especially the rate of reaction in this case. Now, check out one. In one, you'll realize that carbon dioxide is leaving. And if carbon dioxide is leaving, you are getting a change in mass. You can literally find the loss in mass, the change in mass with respect to time. So I can plot this later on a graph, find the gradient of that graph and find the rate of reaction. So one is absolutely correct. I can take readings at intervals, at particular intervals and equal intervals in time. If you look at two, you're literally, um, collecting carbon dioxide. So you could figure out, how can you figure out the change? Initially, you had zero carbon dioxide, and then with every 30 seconds, you could take a reading. Every 30 seconds, you could say, okay, now this much volume is there, now this much volume is there, this one, and you can plot a graph, you could calculate the rate of reaction. So two is absolutely right. This is a tab funnel. The carbon dioxide cannot escape. You could close this tab, Okay, so that's great. And now you've used a Thistle funnel. Now you guys tell me that when carbon dioxide forms, it can literally also escape here. It can literally escape through the Thistle funnel. So if it can escape through the Thistle funnel, there's nothing that you're doing. It's not just about escaping. You guys may wonder, sir, in one, it's also escaping. Yes, that's true. In one, it's also, what is a Thistle funnel? It's this. It literally is giving you the labeling. So in one, it's also escaping, but in one, you still are determining the change. How are you calculating change in one? You're calculating change in one by, or you're recording the change in one by taking this loss in mass. Here you're literally getting no reading. Here, even when carbon dioxide is being removed, it can escape. You can get incorrect reading, but you're not getting any reading whatsoever, any accurate reading. So 3 is also wrong. So 1 and 2 correct option, therefore I'll go for B. It's just used to pour things, Ayan. To pour things. Sir, why are you getting 2 back? Because these questions are more difficult, Hashir. And for 2024, the examiner report isn't there. And I've already solved all the 2024 papers, all the 2023 papers, all the 2022 papers even. But I'll still go over the ones in examiner report. Yes, so 3 is undeniable. You could say that because carbon dioxide will also escape, It's not necessary that all will be collected. It can also escape through this funnel. Moving on. We literally did this, and that is below that of this was the first MCQ. So MCQs can repeat from variants to variants. Just a couple. Buckminsterfullerene has a chemical formula C60. Okay. How is the structure of Buckminsterfullerene best described? They're just covalent bonds. Buckminsterfullerene and these fullerene have so many uses. They're now being used in drug deliveries. They're being used in nano medical science and whatnot. Man, these Buckminsterfullerenes are such a great invention by human kind. This is also now being also used to treat cancer. Graphene is also now being used in drug delivery. So this is just awesome. you know yeah, drug lords can also use it. Drugs, I mean the medical drugs. Drug lords can also use it. Thank you, Razi. Thank you, Khushro. It'll also be uploaded onto YouTube. You could watch it later on. So yeah. No, no, you put medicine in it. You literally put it in, you put the medicine in it and target a particular cell. You learn more about this in maybe in university level, PhD level, and you could work later on this. Khair, how is the structure best described? Is it a covalent compound? You guys may think, oh my God, guess, but it's not a compound because it's just made up of carbon atoms. So compound means two or more different elements, two or more elements. So it's not an ionic compound. Do you see any ions? No, you don't. So it's not an ionic compound. Now, this is the real test. A lot of students went for polymer. That's what the Cambridge examiner said. But going for polymer is absurd because you realize that you studied polymers. Polymers either are, unsaturated, they're made from unsaturated hydrocarbons like alkenes, or you could make polymers from, condensation polymer, in which you could take diol and dicarboxylic acid, or diamine and dicarboxylic acid, or protein, or fats and whatnot. Protein ke liye you need amino acid and whatnot, and for fats you need glycerols and fatty acid. Does this look anywhere near that? It's just carbon atoms. It's literally just carbon atoms. Hmm? Does it look anywhere near the polymerization things that you've studied? It's just carbon atoms. So it's not a polymer. It's just a molecular, it's just a molecule. It's not macro. It's not macro. It's not a polymer. It's just a molecule. Simple covalent molecule. Simple covalent molecule. No, it is molecular. See, graphite. Graphite is also just made from carbons. You also call graphite as what? As a macromolecule. But this is molecular, not a macromolecule. And yeah, it's not giant. It's not giant because it's C60. Giant means thousands and thousands and thousands and billions of carbon atoms joined. In experiment 1 CMQ, we literally did this. That's C. Which reaction is not a redox reaction? A, because A is thermal decomp. Is thermal decomposition. And how could you figure out which is redox and which is not redox? Just go over the oxidation state. See, here carbon is in its pure elemental state is 0, oxygen is 0. Here carbon is +2 and oxygen is -2. So that's redox. Carbon is 0, oxygen is -2. Here carbon is +2 and oxygen is -2. That's also, see, as long as the oxidation numbers are changing, you realize that it's redox. You know that this is redox. You could even tell that iron was +3 here and now it's 0. So you could just figure out one of the oxidation numbers. So A is thermal. You could check out. This is +2 and this is +2 here. Oxygen is -2 and it's still -2 here. Carbon here, you could calculate that's +4 and it's still +4 here. So the oxidation numbers aren't changing. How do you manage time with your job? I don't. I just compromise on my sleep for you guys. Maheen, I wouldn't say rote learning these things. Sir, I tell my parents about the life lessons you give, and they're like they like you so much. They say you're well discussed. Thank you, Kushi. I love it. Thank you, kiddo. What is your job? Zoe, I'm a chartered accountant by profession. How to calculate the oxidation numbers and such. Kiddo, I can't help this. I can't teach you redox right now. I'm just going over MCQs. If you are having difficulty with it, just go over my YouTube. Probably there's a video or two there. Acha. Aqueous copper 2 sulfate, we literally did this. The part of container left in contact, we did this. Which statement about the uses of gases is not correct? Which statement about the uses of gases is not correct? Khair. Helium is used in balloons. Not correct. We have to circle not correct. Okay. Make sure we circle not correct. Helium is used in balloons because it is unreactive and less dense than air. Yes, it is unreactive. That's why you're using it. And it is less dense than air. That's why you use them in these balloons so that it can float on air. So A is the correct option. We need to circle the incorrect one. Hydrogen is used in addition reaction with saturated vegetable oils. You guys may think that B is correct, and the exam, sorry, you guys may think that B is correct, but and you guys may even, say that, oh my God, B is the correct option. But B is incorrect. Why? Because vegetable oils are not saturated, they are unsaturated. Remember? You take unsaturated vegetable oils, add hydrogen to it, and provide it with nickel catalyst, and at temperatures about 200 to 200 degrees Celsius, and you go into uh, a saturated compound. So it's not saturated; it is unsaturated. So B is the incorrect option. It's saying circle the incorrect option. Why do you think C? Why do you think C? B is the incorrect option. Yeah. Nitrogen from the air is used in the manufacture of, and you know that vegetable oils are converted to margarenes. This is unsaturated and this is saturated. Yes, oxygen is definitely used in making steel and welding, and you should know that, but you don't need to know that. Oxygen is used in making steel. Basically, once you get molten iron from the blast furnace, then you put it in, then you turn on the oxygen jet, and then oxygen jet is used to, remove carbon from it, and you can. So it's a whole story, but this is no longer in your course. Nitrogen from the air is used in the manufacture of ammonia. Yes, nitrogen from the air and hydrogen from the cracking of alkanes, or you could say from natural gas or methane. You could get hydrogen, or even from the electrolysis of water. So that's the correct option. That's correct, that's correct, that's correct. We need to circle the incorrect one. How can a pure sample of barium sulfate be obtained from barium carbonate? Right off the bat, I'm gonna disqualify C and D. Dissolve it in water, dissolve it in water. Oh no, Cambridge, you dumbo, jumbo, mumbo. Barium carbonates are insoluble except for group 1 and ammonium carbonate. How in the world are you dissolving carbonate in water? So I'll literally cancel out C and D. And we know that barium sulfate is an insoluble salt. So you prepare it through the precipitation method. Where in the world is a precipitation method? Where in the world is does the precipitation method include crystallization? There's no crystallization in precipitation method. So A is wrong. B is the correct option. I'll try to zoom in a little bit for you guys to see better. Okay. I'm also doing IGCSE Hashir. इसके नीचे IGCSE ही है. I've done all the MCQs. Why is dissolving in water wrong? Because barium carbonate does not dissolve in water because it's insoluble. That's why, Samir. That's why. So you could even literally look crystallize, boom, boom, wrong. Dissolve in water, boom, boom, wrong. You could literally go for B. And why is B correct now? Now, okay, let's go over B. Why is B correct? B is correct because if I take barium carbonate, let's also prove B. If I take barium carbonate and I add it to a hydrochloric acid, you'll realize that this is a base, that's hydrochloric acid. They're going to react together, it'll give you barium chloride, which is aqueous, carbon dioxide, and it's going to give you what? Some students have said why. Let's talk about the why. And barium chloride, which is aqueous, now you're adding what to it? Now you're adding dilute sulfuric acid to it. So if you have aqueous barium chloride right here, let me show it to you. Let me show it to you. Yalla habibi. If the barium ions and the chloride ions are here and you add sulfuric acid, which are the hydrogen ions and the sulfate ions, the barium ion and the sulfate ion are gonna form a precipitate. You know, and once they form a precipitate, you could literally filter it and you're gonna get, oh my god, that's pathetic drawing by me. Once you filter it, you're gonna get barium sulfate. That's why. Oh my god. So your goal here is to fix your concepts. Your goal here is not to rote learn MCQs. Those of you saying sir ऊपर जाएं स्क्रीनशॉट लेने दें, मतलब हाय 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 मैं मर जावा तेरे बिन, क्या कर रहे हो? क्यों रट्टे मार रहे हो? क्यों रट्टे मार रहे हो? रट्टा मार. Yes, you're right, Khizr. You can directly get it. You can directly also get it by taking barium carbonate and reacting with sulfuric acid. You can. Nobody said you can't. Yes, Hashir. I am Pakhtun. Okay. Waste image shows that graphite and diamonds are different forms of the same element carbon. That's called allotropes. Different forms of the same element. Okay. Why do you wash the salts? Uh, you wash the salts because if you have barium sulfate, it'll have traces of H plus ions and the chloride ions. So you need to wash it with distilled water. Okay. So Abdullah Nazar lagalo. How do you do it so effortlessly? Lagalo Nazar, lagalo. Jinx me now. Seriously, I swear to God. If I get sick after this class, remember who the culprit is. Remember, just remember. Remember the time. Oh. Okay, both graphite and so it's saying they're different forms of the same element carbon because graphite is also carbon and diamond is also carbon. They just have different structures, you know. So it's saying both diamond and graphite have giant molecular structures. Okay, what should I do with it? Is this a correct statement? It is a correct statement. But does it prove does it prove that they are both different forms of carbon? ऐसे तो silicon 4 oxide also is a giant molecular structure. मतलब, think about it. Even silicon 4 oxide is a giant molecular structure. Does this prove it? No. Okay, let's look at C. Graphite and diamond have different melting points. Okay, graphite and silicon 4 oxide also have different melting points. Graphite and chlorine also have different. Does that mean that they're allotropes? That they're both carbon ki different? So that's not true. See, this is true, but it does not prove this. Remember, in MCQs you may be given true statements, but realize what is asked. What's asked is how can we prove that they are different forms of the same element carbon? Okay. Graphite conducts electricity where diamond does not. Okay, big deal. Boo hoo. Silicon 4 oxide also does not conduct electricity. So, should I say that they're different forms of the same element carbon? Think about it. Always, reason with yourself. And that's the reason why B is the correct option. Now, what does B mean? B means complete combustion of equal masses of graphite and diamond produces equal masses of carbon dioxide and no other products. And that's true. And that is actually a proof. That is what is proving the fact that they're both different forms of carbon. One is also producing carbon dioxide only. And if you take diamond, it's also going to produce carbon dioxide, equal amounts. Okay. Thanks, Hamid. Thanks for your lovely, lovely messages. Thank you, kiddo. Love you too. Mhm. But in combustion, we get water. That's the typical reasoning that you're gonna get if you've rote learned things. If you have carbon, there's no hydrogen present. You get combustion in combustion, you get water if you take, C2H6 or C2H4 or C2H5OH, in which you have hydrogens, that's gonna give you water. There are no hydrogens. How can water form from thin air? How can water form from thin air, Samir? Yeah, makes sense now. Great. That's why I said 2016 is more difficult. But you guys don't listen. You guys are like, no, 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 no. Okay. Copper wire is used to complete the electrical circuit. Great. What happens in a copper wire? This is the negative terminal, that's the positive terminal. How do the electrons flow? The electrons go from the negative terminal to the positive terminal. Negative to positive. Electrons move along the along the wire to the negative terminal. No, they move from the negative terminal to the positive terminal. Please don't confuse this with physics, because this is chemistry, Mahin. Don't confuse this with physics. Oh, but sir, current flows from positive table to negative table. We know that conventional current is, but we're talking about electrons. Electrons go from negative terminal to positive terminal. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, so electrons move along the wire to the positive terminal. That's true. Let's look at the second part. Positive ions move. No, positive ions don't move. What the hell? What the hell, man? Okay. Electrons move along the wire to the positive terminal. That's true. And the positive ions stay in position. That's true. So C is correct. Negative ions, there are no negative ions in copper. Copper is a metal. Metals have electrons, not negative ions. Mhm. Which uses of sulfuric acid are correct? This is not a part of your course anymore. But if you want to figure out the uses of sulfuric acid, it is used as a bleach. No, that's sulfur dioxide. As used as a food preservative, If I'm not wrong, that's also sulfur dioxide. As raw material in the manufacture of detergents, yes, sulfuric acid is in fact used as raw material in the Is used as fertilizer? No. Ammonium salts like ammonium nitrate, ammonium phosphates, they are used as fertilizers, ammonium salts. So 3 is correct. Do we have 3 only? Yes, we do. D. Two isotopes, chlorine 35 and chlorine 37. It says using the isotopes, how many different relative molecular masses are possible for the same compound? See, you have 3 chlorine atoms in this, right? So how many different formulas are possible? You know that the left side stays the same. Let's just this part will have the same mass. So this can be constant. I'll just look at the chlorine mass, which I can vary. I can vary the 3 chlorine atoms mass and I'll get different masses. So let's suppose I say, hey, I take all these 3 chlorine atoms to be chlorine 35. I'll get one mass. So what if if I take all chlorine atoms to be chlorine 37? That's also a possibility. I'll take 135 and 237s. And I'll take 235s and 137. And that's it. That's the only possibilities that I can get. Literally. If you add all of these up, you're going to get different masses. So that's why the option is C. Some of you guys may confuse this with mathematics. Some of you guys may confuse this with something binomial distribution. If you study this, probably you haven't. But some of you guys may say, sir, what if it's not about saying, oh, what if the first one is this and the second one is that and the third one is this? No, it's not about that. It's just about different masses. Even if you say, oh, sir, what if instead of saying that this is 35 and 237s, what if I said the first one is 35 and then the next two are 30, the first one is 37 and the next two are 35? It'll give you the same thing as this. They're both the same thing. See, 35, 35, 37, 37, 35, 35. It's the same mass. The mass isn't going to change. So it's just uno, dos, tres, cuatro, 4. Even if you say, sir, what if I have 237? If I put 237 first and then 35 at the end, even if you say that's the same thing as saying that there's 135 and 237. See, 237s and 135 is the same as 135 and 237s. So you could add these 3 up, and as these 3 up, they'll give you the same mass. I think it'll give you 109. So please don't confuse this with mathematics. Don't confuse this with probability. It's just a simple question in which you just need to take out 4 different possibilities will give you different masses. Which pair of substances can prepare pure lead 2 chloride? Lead 2 chloride is an insoluble salt. How do you prepare an insoluble salt? You take 2 soluble salts. So I'll take lead nitrate, that's soluble, and chloride. I'll take sodium chloride, potassium chloride, whatever. Now it says lead, you take lead and mix it with sodium chloride. No reaction is going to happen here, because how do you prepare an insoluble salt? You take 2 soluble salts. Sir, जब 2 MR है तो 2 होगी, kiddo. Add these 3 up, and then add these 3 up. That'll give you the same mass. It's saying how many different relative molecular masses are possible. These 2 are going to give you the same mass. This and this is going to give you the same mass. It's only these 4 possibilities will give you different masses. It's just logical. I said lead 2 nitrate and sodium chloride. That's absolutely true. Because if you take the lead 2 plus ions and the nitrate ions, and then you take the sodium ions and the chloride ions, so the lead 2 plus ions are going to come into contact with the chloride ions, and it's going to form lead chloride. Lead 2 carbonate and sodium chloride. Lead 2 carbonate is insoluble in water. It's saying when it's added to water, it's insoluble in water. D. Lead and hydrochloric acid. Well, fun fact. You guys may say that, oh my God, so lead and hydrochloric acid is going to give me lead chloride, and then it's going to give me hydrogen. That's where you guys go a little far. And the reason, I'll tell you the reason. The reason is that you should have your concept straight. How do you prepare an insoluble salt? Come on. How do you prepare an insoluble salt? You take 2 soluble salts. Ain't that true? You take 2 soluble salts, ideally. Ideally speaking, you take 2 soluble salts, and you have 2 soluble salts. So I'm going to go with B. Now, some of you may think, sir, but D. Some of you may think that. Well, I'll tell you something which is not in your course. When lead reacts with hydrochloric acid, it does give you lead chloride and hydrogen, but lead chloride is a little soluble in hydrochloric acid. Do you need to know this? No, you don't. But if your concepts were good, you would have known that insoluble salt preparation is through two soluble salts, and that's why you would have gone for B instead of D. But D is possible, but D would give you some of the lead chloride is going to be aqueous. Then you'll have to pour it into an evaporating dish. But the problem is there'll also be hydrochloric acid there. So it becomes a problem, doesn't it? That's why we don't, that's how we prepare insoluble salts, by taking two soluble salts. Don't we have to make aqueous solutions of soluble means aqueous ion. Soluble means dissolved in water. The pH of an aqueous solution of hydrochloric acid is pH 2. Great. It's a strong acid. It'll fully dissociate. That's true. What will be the pH of acid after? Come on. It's such an easy. How could students get this wrong? Think about it, guys. Ampaka loco. Ampaka loco. Yeah. What will be the pH of the acid? Would the acid react with sodium chloride? It won't. It won't react with sodium chloride. The acid would remain pH 2. The examiner says the most students went for pH 7 and pH 9. I don't know how they did that. Probably some magic. How many moles of hydrogen chloride are formed when 1 mole of methane reacts with excess chlorine in sunlight? You know that it's a chain reaction. So it'll react with chlorine, it'll substitute a hydrogen atom, and the hydrogen atom which is substituted will react with chlorine atom to give you HCl. So it'll be CH3Cl plus HCl, and then this CH3Cl will react with Cl2 further, gives you another HCl, and it'll go on until all the hydrogen are substituted. So we had 4 hydrogens. So this reaction can happen 4 times. And if it happens 4 times, that means 4 moles of HCl are going to be formed. So it's 4. And you could, I'm just can't be bothered, but you guys can complete it. Hey, I'll complete it for you. CH2Cl2 plus Cl2, again, substitute a hydrogen and make HCl. CHCl3 plus HCl, I'll complete it for you. And then you take CHCl3 plus Cl2, substitute a hydrogen and make HCl. So CCl4 plus HCl. Hey, how many moles are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. D. Yes, Raima. No, Aisha. CFCs are chlorofluorocarbons. There's no fluorine here. Which statements about alcohols are correct? All alcohols contains the OH. Oh, yes, it does contain the OH. No, you dumbo jumbo. It doesn't contain the OH minus ion. It doesn't contain the hydroxide ion. It contains hydroxyl. Hydroxyl functional group, the OH functional group. It's not in the form of the ion. One is wrong. Ethanol can be formed from ethene using a reaction catalyzed by yeast. Yeah? It is, right? It is. No, you dumbo jumbo mumbo. I just love taunting students. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hey, I'm just chilling. It isn't catalyzed by yeast, because when you take ethene and you want to form ethanol, you need what? You need acid as the catalyst. Phosphoric acid, acidified aqueous phosphoric acid. You need a temperature of 300 degrees Celsius. You need a pressure of 80 atmospheres and 60 atmospheres and whatnot. Where is yeast used? Yeast is used to take glucose and convert it into ethanol. So yeast is used here, not in the case of ethene. So 2 is wrong. And therefore I could, even without reading, I'd go for 3 and 4D, because that's the only 2 options left. But yes, yeast is a catalyst. It's an enzyme. It's a biological catalyst. Methanol can be oxidized to methanoic acid. That's true, because it's through acidified aqueous potassium manganate. Alcohols are oxidized to carboxylic acids. X and Y's are isomers. Yes, this one is butane 2-ol. They have the same molecular formula and different structural formula. Why? Because one is butane 2-ol and this one is butane 1-ol. So 3 and 4 correct? Absolutely. D. Which statement shows that graphite and diamond are different? It's just repeating. That's B. Ethene is a covalent compound with a simple molecular structure. Which statement about ethene is correct? Ethene is a liquid? No, it's a gas at RTP. Sir, the screen is blurring. Is it still blur, guys? I'm sorry if it's blur. Tala is saying screen. It's not Aisha saying it is. It's also because of the quality of this booklet, because these are effectively screenshots. These are screenshots. So if they're screenshots, you'll see the pixels, it's very pixelated because these are screenshots taken by students. It happens when you move cursors. Screen kind of lagging. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. So it's fine now. Let's switch the internet. Am I connected to the right? I'm connected to 5G, but Ibrahim saying screen's blurry. It's bearable. Move on. It's still visible enough. Okay, I'll just complete it. You guys can watch the recording later on YouTube. Ethene is a liquid at room temperature and pressure. It's not a liquid, it's a gas. Ethanol is a liquid. I'm also speaking. So you could hear me speaking. Yeah. Okay. Liquid ethene conducts electricity. No, it doesn't because it does not have delocalized electrons. No delocalized electrons. It's simple covalent. No, no, sorry. One ethene molecule has 16 protons. That's true. But let's see. The total number of shared paired electrons in ethene is 5. No, it's not because it makes ethene structure is something like this, carbon-carbon double bond and it's hydrogens, right? So how many bonds do we have? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has 6 bonds. 6 bonds means that you have the total number of shared pair electrons are 6 pairs, and total number are actually 12 electrons are shared, and shared pairs are 6, not 5. So D is wrong, and that's why C is the correct option. Now why C correct? Because it has 16 protons. C2H4, that's ethene, right? So carbon, if you check out in the periodic table, carbon has 6 protons, and if you have 2 carbons times this by 12, times this by 2, it'll give you 12 protons, and hydrogen has a single proton, and you 4 hydrogens, times it by 4, you get 4 p's. So add the 4 p's to the 12 p's, you're gonna get what are you gonna get? Don't tell me that you're gonna get what is 16 p's. I'm talking in the Daisy accent, Daisy, 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 Daisy. Compound P is the only. I saw this question a lot in the discussion forum. So let's see this question. Daisy, Daisy. I'm talking about Daisy accent, Mahi. There was Donald Duck. To be honest, I am Suleiman Khan, and I also talk like my friends in Pakistan and India. We talk in this accent. If you wanna sound like if you wanna get an Indian accent, I've lit and the Pakistani Desi uncle's accent. What you need to do is replace the T with a D. So whenever you're pronouncing T, whenever you're pronouncing T, just pronounce it as a D. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. It's so fun, to be honest. So Baba is sitting beside me and he's doubting that I'm taking the class. Okay, now we are gonna go back to studying then. Compound P is the only substance formed when 2 volumes of ammonia gas, so you have 2 volumes of NH3 gas and 1 volume of carbon dioxide gas, 1 volume of CO2 gas. And P is the only thing that forms. Can you guys tell me two NH3s and one CO2? How many atoms do you have? You must have two N's at the end. In the product, you must have two N's, 2 times 3. You must have 6 H's, you must have 1 C, and you must have 2 O's. In the final product, I don't know the formula for it, but I know that there must be 2 N's, 6 H's, 1 C, and 2 O's, because I think you have 2 NH3s and 1 CO2, and that's the only thing which is forming. So let's see, you have 1 H here and 1 H here, so you have 2 H's, 2 H's and 4 H's. You have, sorry, 2 N's and 2 H's and 4 H's. You have 6 H's. That's also being satisfied. 1 C and 2 O's. And that's true. So A seems like the correct option. If you look at B, B is 2 times N. You have 2 H's. You have a 4, sorry, you have 2 N's and you have 4 H's. So B is wrong because it should have 6 H's. C, why is C wrong? It has 4 H's here and 4 H's here. So C is wrong because it has a total of 8 H's. So why is D wrong? It has 3 oxygen atoms, whereas it should have only had 2 O's, and it also has 8 H's. That's also wrong. So D is wrong and C is wrong. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, Afridi. Oil floats on water. Why? Because oil must be less dense than water and they must be immiscible. You know, immiscible means that they must not mix with each other. That's why they're floating. And that's why it's less dense. That's why oil is floating on water. Which statement is not true? What is not true? Which one is oil? Oil and water are immiscible. This is a true statement. They're immiscible. That's why they're floating. It's not mixing with each other. Immiscible means that they don't mix. Oil is less dense than water. That is also true, because it's floating. That's why it's floating. Some molecules in oil have higher MR than water. Water, yeah, that's true. Water is H2O. Water is 18, that's the MR. But oil is effectively an organic molecule, and oil is also a liquid. So probably it'll be an organic molecule with, a lot of carbons and hydrogen. So it may have a relative molecular mass higher than H2O. But let's suppose I did not know this. Let's suppose I always solve from your perspective. Let's suppose I did not know this. I'm gonna go over D. D says the type of bonding within water molecules is different from the type. No, it's not different, because oil is also a covalent molecule and water is also a covalent molecule. And within water molecules and oil molecules, you would have what? Covalent bonds. So within you will have covalent bonds. So are they different? Are they different? No, absolutely not. They're not different. They're both covalent bondings. That's why I'll circle D, because that's the incorrect statement. And C was in fact the correct statement. 1 mole of sample. Please don't solve this. This has been also been removed, and it's a poorly constructed MCQ. And this concept of thermal decomposition is not in your course, because as I looked at it, I feel like it's a thermal decomp concept, and that's not in your course. The option to it is the greatest volume of carbon. The option to this is magnesium, but I'm not going to solve it. It's about thermal decomposition and thermal thermal stability and polarization, which you study in A2 chemistry now. So please forget about this. Forget about this, because if I start solving it, it'll ruin your basic concepts. So I'll let it be. Hydrated sodium carbonate decomposes when heated with a Bunsen burner flame. Remember, Bunsen burner flame. Okay, which shows the correct equation. Look at A, look at B, look at C, look at D. Always, whenever you wanna solve an MCQ, always go over the, sir, how did you find the time to go over all the question? Ariba, because when I saw it, I was like, okay, let me know this greatest volume of carbon dioxide, and it hit in my brain like, bloop. It's because it's a thermal. So it comes with a lot of practice, I haven't done a lot of practice, but since I've taught concepts I've been teaching for the past 6-7 years now, all the concepts are like, boop. They're like, boop, like, boop. I'm crazy. I sometimes think that, I'm just that cool chemistry teacher, and then just goes home. I don't have a big ass beard with, white hair and with my mustache cut and whatnot. I'm just a little cool. I'm just a little cool. I don't say बच्चों समझ आ गई बच्चों ठीक है ना बच्चों. Sorry, I'm not taking digs at anyone. I'm just saying बच्चों. Okay, बच्चों समझ आ गई बच्चों. Yeah, I don't say after me Bunsen burner flame बच्चों ठीक है ना बच्चों. I'm not that type of dude. I just to come here, boom, bam, boom, and finished. Give the conceptual understanding. बच्चों ठीक है ना बच्चों. Okay, great. Oh, hey, chill. I'm not taking this at anybody. Okay. Here. So if you scan all of these 4 options out, this is a hydrated salt that's shown to you, right? And use your brain, for crying out loud. Have you seen a hydrated salt somewhere else in your chemistry? Have you seen a hydrated salt somewhere else in chemistry? Where? Which hydrated salt have you guys seen? Which 2 hydrated salts are a part of your course? Yes, Iman is saying only 2. Everybody's saying 2. You've seen copper chloride, and you've seen, um, copper sulfate, cobalt chloride and copper sulfate, right? And you know that cobalt chloride is bonded to 6 H2O molecules. And you also know that copper sulfate is bonded to 5 H2Os. And once you heat it up, what happens? Tell me something. Once you heat this up, what happens? You get copper sulfate and 5 H2Os here, anhydrous copper sulfate, and here you get anhydrous cobalt chloride and 6 H2Os. Does this break? Does this structure in itself break? You're just removing this stuff, you're just removing the water of crystallization. Oops. You're just removing the water of crystallization. Now look at all the options and see where the water of crystallization is only being removed. So it was a tricky MCQ, but you had to eliminate all the other options out. all the other options out. You had to eliminate them and you have to go for B, because you've seen B take place in copper sulfate and cobalt chloride. So sometimes the MCQs are made such, yeah, it isn't, the heat is not that strong to decompose it to this extent. You're right. But again, see, the heat, when you saw this stuff happening, the examiner expected you to remember that cobalt chloride, hydrated salt of cobalt chloride, hydrated salt of copper sulfate, when you break it down, the only thing that is, split into two is this stuff and this stuff. So if you take sodium carbonate, hydrated salt, when you break this up, you're going to get sodium carbonate and H2O. Here you're also getting sodium oxide, you're also getting carbon dioxide. That's why it can't be D. When you break this, you get sodium carbonate and H2Os, just like you're getting here. So sometimes you need to remember things and correlate them. So पहले ऐसे MCQs होते, now such MCQs are tested in AS level, not in A2. So some things, maybe these reactions weren't studied by you. Maybe you didn't know that such reactions take place. Maybe all these questions were balanced, but then you would have correlated it to your prior knowledge. And that's how I've done it. And that's how I expect you guys to even think. And C is wrong definitely, because these are 10 H2Os and this is 9. But I don't have to look at it from this perspective. I have to look at it from my conceptual understanding of hydrated salts and how when you heat them, it just splits like bloop. You get this and this. Are equal volumes of acid base required? Sir, for neutralization, are equal volumes of acid base required? Not necessarily, kiddo, because equal volume of acid and alkali would be required if in the equation they are 1:1. If in the equation you know that 1 mole of hydrochloric acid reacts with 1 mole of sodium oxide, that's how you'll know that, oh, equal volumes are there. But no, that's not something, oh, equal volume should be. Sir, but isn't B only showing a removal of water crystallization for decomposition? Hey, you've seen hydrated salts. You've seen hydrated salt. That's what I'm saying. You've seen hydrated salts. When you have a hydrated salt, boom, shakalaka, and such MCQ will not come in your paper as well. You study this, you don't even study this in A2 level or in AS level, or even maybe you probably study this in university level. Who knows? The heat is not that much. That's the reality behind it. The Bunsen burner flame does not have enough energy to do this, because Bunsen probably goes till 800-900. It doesn't provide sufficient heat. It's not as an assumption, Mahin. You know that it doesn't provide sufficient heat. But the thing is that if it were me and I did not know, oh, how much heat is sufficient heat, I'll probably go for this idea and go for B. Yeah. So don't make rules for yourself. Look at the MCQ and yeah, we're gonna figure it out. Uh, mhm. So don't jump us. Oh, the 2016 set. To be honest, I'm a little tired. Makes sense now. I didn't know that too, but now it makes sense. Yeah, because saying that it doesn't have enough heat, then again, what is the measure of enough heat? Do you study this in O level? No, you don't. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay, 2016 set, IGCSE 2016 set. Guys, I'm a little tired. Can I call it a day? यार ये MCQ नहीं आएगा, भूल जाओ इस MCQ को. Can I take a little break? Zoe saying no. Some of you guys are just no, 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 no. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. You guys don't even care. I don't. Well. Okay, I'm joking. I couldn't care less. Sir, I waited the whole time for IGCC. Raima, please, please, for crying out loud, don't fall into the trap of, oh my God, O level ki to hum nahi hai, we're gonna do IGCC. Oh my God, we are not IGCC student, we're not O levels. The reason you're doing MCQs is to clarify your concepts and to see whether you are at par with things. Please, 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 please. That's why in my classes, I teach O-level IGCC in the same batch. I do O-level papers as well as IGCC papers, because these papers are literally a measure of your conceptual understanding. Don't put this in, O-level is difficult, IGCC. If your concepts are fine, nothing is difficult. Can you do the question in moles where you where you have to find the atoms on Iman. You could find moles, all the entire crash course of moles on my YouTube channel at Carboxy. Mhm. I love you, sir. Take a break. Thank you, Ibrahim. Love you too, man. Love you, love you. Please, 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 sir. See, I also have to oil my hair, and I also have to, shower, and then I also have to eat food. I went to Peshawar today for a function, and I had to come back home. Can I go drink water? Sure, Khizr. Nobody's stopping you. Gupshup time? No, 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 no. See, guys, this is what I mean. See, your time, sir. I'm how to improve score. I'm getting 28, 30. Abdul Hadi or Abdul Hey, please watch my YouTube. Watch my video on YouTube in which I've talked about how to solve an MCQ paper. Okay. Acha, one more thing, guys. My time for now, okay, my time is valuable, but not at this moment. Compared to you guys, your time is more valuable. You guys have a paper in 5 days for physics and in 10 days for chemistry. Ain't that true? So doing gupshup with me would not harm me. It'll harm you guys in the longer run. So what I'd recommend, oh, my hair looks good, thank you. But what I'd recommend is go watch a Netflix show. Watch Amazon tonight. You deserve it. You guys have studied today. एंड नेटफ्लिक्स शो देखें अमेजोन पे देखें कुछ अमेजोन प्राइम पे there's this new show called the Royals, I think Indian show, but I don't know. I think it's on Netflix. It's a little sassy show. I won't watch it, but I'm just saying if somebody, so just watch a show or go onto YouTube, watch Mr. Beast and whatnot. But fine, fine, kiddo. Ibrahim, you can. ठीक है मैसेज कर दीजिएगा. So watch a show, take some time off instead of doing gupshup with me. Take some time off, watch a show, and then go back to sleep, and then wake up in the morning, watch this recording if you've missed something or if you want to go over something. And yeah, Raima, I'm tired. I wanted to do this, but I'm tired. I'll do this probably tomorrow. I have, oh, this is a good question. No, 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 no. A is the correct option. B is the correct option. Mhm. Yes, D is the correct option. See, my concepts are fine, so I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do this. B is the correct option. So I'll do this tomorrow. Don't worry about it. A क्यों why not methane? छोड़ दो गोली मारो करा दूंगा. Khizr, why am I not getting some biryani? Sir, please recommend should I do topicals, past papers, or if I just start today? Zoya, watch the YouTube video. I've clarified everything. Bye, Laiba. Bye. MBBS के लिए A levels करें. Yes, Zoom user. Sir, do you support EBT? No, no, Ayan, I don't. I don't support it. But I have no problem with people. It's a safe place. Don't get me cancelled, please. Do I need full marks? Iman, try to get full marks. Sir, A levels में grade क्यों नहीं आते? Because in A levels the teachers are shit. Mostly there are good teachers, but mostly the teachers are poop. कुछ स्टूडेंट्स की गलती हो जाती है, कुछ टीचर्स की हो जाती है. भी यही है बच्चों. Bye guys, love you all. Bye bye, ciao ciao, love it, bye. Whee! I'm just too hyper. I think I'm on some. Bye.